Hello, good evening, good evening, good afternoon, good morning. It depends on where you are. Welcome to the Out of the Box Developer today. My name is Hugo. I'll be hosting the session today, and we are reaching the end of the year, and I believe that many people are. Or it is very busy with doing things, the last things in the last minutes, and I hope you are not deploying on a Friday. But yeah, I know that someone in the board will be will not have any choice. But yeah, and I also want to talk today a little bit about motivation, how to keep developers motivation, because in the very end of the year we have like me, a lot of people that is a little bit tired of the year. That was at least for me, it was a very long year with many things, many achievements, many movements, and yeah, we are we get in the end of the year, we get a little bit tired of it, but we it's good to have motivation to keep us uh, moving forward and growing in our career. So to help me with this discussion, I would just call my good friend Mani Sarkar. Hey Mani, how are you, man?
Hey, Hugo, I'm good. How are you? Long time no see. It almost feels like it's been a month, but actually we met 2 weeks ago, isn't it? I'm really good. Thank you very much.
Yes.
And I like the topic this time. I wonder who must have suggested it, but it's a good topic about motivation and good tips not to deploy on a Friday. Even if you're bored, don't deploy on a Friday unless you want to work over the weekends on Saturday and Sunday to roll back all the changes and put your system back to normal. That's purely your choice. But it's great to be here, and yes, it's the end of the year. I'm sorry to hear you're exhausted and tired. You had a long year, and not just a long week and a long day, but a long year with lots of ups and downs. So I'm hoping you're going to get the chance next 7 days to unwind.
Yes.
And yeah, I think the topic, coming back to the topic, it's a great topic. I think it's a key topic to many things. So let's unpack this as we go forward. I'll hand over to you to carry on and introduce somebody else if there is another guest.
Great. And yeah, there's another guest to contribute here on the discussion, and I want to call Pedro Cavallero. Hey Pedro, how are you, man?
Hey Hugo, hey Manny, thanks, thanks for inviting me today. And yeah, this is a very important topic as we are in the end of the year, and we need to motivate us to start a new year to keep studying, keep working, and keep doing all the things we do as developers. And yeah, many said, oh, don't don't deploy on Friday. Well, I just deployed on Thursday. I think it was already already complicated, but everything worked fine, and then we are here, uh, relieved.
If
As
you
you can
have good tests, unit tests, and integration tests working fine, I think you
every
can relax much more.
Yeah,
for
but
sure.
still, it's
Great.
it's still a good idea not to deploy on a Friday, even if your tests are running fine.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
I
If you
agree.
can avoid.
Absolutely.
It's better to maybe negotiate with the business to postpone it to the Sunday or to
To
the Monday.
Monday.
Monday. Yeah, if you tell them Sunday, they'll say, "Yeah, yeah, please do it Sunday, where it's available on Monday."
Okay. And I want to say hello to Max. Hey, Max, I see your message here. Good to have you here. Please join us, bring the question, and anything that you want to contribute also with the discussion. We'll be very happy to hear from you. And whoever get into our session, please share your thoughts and what you think about, and also your experience, maybe, because this we are talking about motivation, I believe that, of course, motivation is not something that is a challenge only for developers. I think anyone doing anything in the world might have big challenges around motivation at some point of their lives. In a moment that you are fine with the things that you are doing, it's very easy to keep going forward. But sometimes you got in a point in a scenario that you need some extra energy to keep things going forward, right? So what can we can start here about how actually we guys do to keep motivation on our work. I think that's a good thing to share experience between us. At least for me, I try to remember some of the main goals that I keep for myself, and that is my first exercise to actually okay, I want to get there. So yeah, to get there, I need to do this. So I will keep doing it, uh, and have to with my brain to actually take action. Right? I think that's really very difficult. At least for me, sometimes. You have so much nowadays. I have so much things that can distract me, especially cell phone is the biggest evil thing for me, for my brain. It's an energy drainer. And I think that is one of my biggest challenge every day when I have to do some extra thing. Yeah, when I'm able to take out my phone from my front, it helps me. But what about you guys? What's your tips for it?
Good one. So I think the cell phone one is a very good one. I have my cell phone on notification switched off as much as I can when I'm working, especially because every time you get a message, it's ping, tick, ting, and it might be not very loud, but it's if you have a lot of these sounds throughout the 30-minute course, whether you're in a meeting or not in a meeting, but if you're focusing on something and working, it can add up to distraction. So my notifications are all switched off because every time there's a notification, you get curious, right? Oh, there's a message coming. What is it? So that takes away your concentration. So that is something I totally keep myself from, and I try to keep as much as possible away from Slack notifications and Slack as well, unless like I only check Slack messages a few times in the day. And I try to also keep away from checking anything on the phone unless I'm taking a small pause. So yeah, that's kind of keeps my focus on. So because I think that was what was your question about, right? I don't know, Pedro. What about you? What do you do to keep your focus one pointed and not distracted?
Yeah. Well, I think the focus and motivation. I think they are a little different things, at least for me. And when I think about focus, of course, I use a feature in the phone that has during this time here we just have you can just notify these apps here, like some Slack or something, right? But and any other any social media or anything, it's turn it off. So
Mm.
when and then I don't need to put it in totally mute, but I put it in a silent mode for specific apps. It's a good feature. I think I like, and then it helped me to keep focused. But of course, there are many other things that get you out of focus when you are working in during the day, right? If you are trying to do a feature, for example, trying to develop something, and then we have a meeting in the you get like 30 minutes of the meeting, and then you lost the contest, and you
Mm.
need to try to make your brain to focus everything again. And when you are getting the control again, you have another meeting, you know. So meetings is something that makes me lost my focus as well. uh, here in the company we use application together with Google Calendar. It calls Clockwise, and this Clockwise is a really interesting tool that allows you to define like focus time. And you said, oh, this time here is a focus time. I will not allow anybody to put any meeting here in this during these moments. Or you can just put another break between meetings if you wanted, something like this. So it helps you to have focus time to get the things done. So this is something that I do during the day, right? uh, but yeah, but
This
what's keeping me
clockwise.
motivated is something else, I can say.
Sorry, I was to ask if this clockwise application is something that is free that we can share here to our audience.
Yeah, Clockwise, it has a free version, and it has
Free
a
version.
enterprise version. Yeah, so you can try.
I just shared the link to the website. Is that the one?
Yeah, this one.
Getclockwise.com. Okay.
Great.
Hugo, you may
That's
want to
fine.
share
Let's
that
share
with
to
the
the
audience.
on
Yeah.
the
Good
chat.
share, Pedro. And yeah, I
Yeah,
actually
it's
agree.
interesting one.
Concentration, focus, and motivation may be separate things, but you may notice that when you're not motivated, your focus and concentration is also not there,
For
right?
sure. Right.
And when you are motivated, then anything you pick up, you zoom into it. That means your focus and concentration is available. Of course, you're motivated and you're driven, but then there are distractions happening and you're allowing those distractions to happen. So now
Mhm.
you're not taking advantage of your motivation flow, right? Then you're
Right.
not gearing yourself into focus and concentration. So that can be separate things at that time. But at least I feel motivation, like I've seen that in this whole week actually, that the moment I was not motivated, then I couldn't focus on something. I had to just let sit, and I know I was less productive. Let's say whatever I was doing, I wasn't
Hmm.
productive. I wasn't into it, like, zoomed into it, like full focus and full concentration. That is something um, we need to watch for and try to see as much as we can reduce and work on. But
So
that is a different motivation as well, right? Because there's just like focus and concentration. Focus could be very much, um, well, it depends. Concentration could be very much what you're doing now and you're concentrating on something, but focus could also mean like a more broad medium to long term thing, right? Because I have a goal I'm focusing on. I'm not concentrating on a goal. You wouldn't say that, right? You're
Hmm.
concentrating on something that is near term, whereas you're focusing on something that's medium and long term, right? So similarly, motivation has also got two or three terms, right? What you're motivated about can in a day-to-day basis, your motivation can go up and down. But on in general, you're motivated to do something, right? Like, for example, you're motivated to do, like, I'm motivated to do certain things. Of course, it's greater and lesser and different types of the day, but
Hmm.
in general, I have a high motivation about something, or a low motivation of something, and that there I cannot put any energy, right? So in fact, the question that Hugo came up with, how to keep developers motivated, there are two levels to it, right? We're not talking about their daily motivation, right, which will go up and down. We're talking about their general motivation when they're working with us. How do we keep them motivated? How do we keep them drawn? Actually, I was looking at the questions we came up with. um, Before we even motivate the developers, we were actually talking about how do we attract good developers to a project or team. How do we create good developers if you can't find them? How do you sustain and keep good developers from being poached or losing them because they grew too quickly or other reasons? And then we were talking about how to motivate good developers in getting success out of a project and keeping them motivated as long as possible. You see, there is a link, at least I feel, there is a link between this last question that we just focused on and the previous ones we talked about, because it's a build up, isn't it? You need to first come up with a team. So you need to find developers. So then you put the developers together and you create a team. Now you've created a team. Now you got to sustain the team. You got to sustain the team from various things, right? You'll have people poaching your team, people trying to grab your developers into another team, etc., etc. So, but whilst that's happening, the developers need to continue being productive and producing something for your team. How do we keep their motivation level high so that they don't go somewhere else, right?
Mhm.
Like that is a tough one, right? That, see, first of all, to attract a developer into your team, that's a challenge and a half. Then when they've come into your team, now to keep them, there is another challenge and a half, right? So yeah.
That's an interesting. Actually, I feel that's an interesting point of view. I was uh, actually these questions are tricky because for our audience, because maybe for my perspective as a manager, I'm very worried about keeping a team of developers motivated because actually I have to manage a team of developers, so that is what connects all the other topics, because I'm building a team, or I'm hiring some developers, and I want to keep them motivated because I want to keep all the good developers at my team, and that is something probably there's many people concerned about that as like me. And also, I think that is the tricky part is that probably as a developer or as someone that is a part of the team, how can I actually keep motivated myself to actually grow in my career, to achieve my goals, and so on. So I think there are two paths, two perspectives here that is great that Mani have distinguished both. And actually, one of them are very. We can talk a little bit about our own experience. The other one, which is the developer motivation, and the other one is from who is having to keep your team motivated. What kind of activities or what kind of actions actually he can take to make it happen. I think understanding one, we can try to figure out the other way. And I don't know if you agree with that. But what do you think about?
So what
What?
was your
Yeah, go
so what was your idea about the framework, about how, what steps are you going to say? What, you had two steps in mind, right? Can you unpack them? Can you explain them, what you mean by the two steps to keep them
yeah.
motivated?
Actually, it was if we understand what makes developers motivated. I know that motivation is something very personal, very individual. So maybe it's not the same thing for every developer, but somehow we are connected with the development tasks. So probably we have something that we share each one between us, between developers. That is probably something that we actually understand in the same way, or at least in a high majority, we can see as very similar behavior. So that's one point. So
Mhm.
after understanding it, maybe we can help managers or any team lead to actually make actions to make them still motivated,
Mhm.
and be happy with the team, and do great works, great things, and so on. So that was one thought of mine. Another one topic that I know is that many people, like me myself, in the past, I always thought that motivation is something that I need to get to actually do some action, and actually the mechanics is the opposite. We do some actions, and then motivation comes, because if we don't, actually nothing changes, and we keep. At least I felt myself like that. I was waiting for a long time to waiting that let come some motivation, so I will actually do something. And I and then after many years, someone told me it was and actually it was an interesting company that is teaching startups to with some development consultancy that told it, and yeah, it was very interesting to invert the order, make some actions, then these actions will create some motivation because the results create some motivations actually.
Yeah,
So
I was.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I just get this point you gave, and I remember
Yeah.
that I was seeing a video from Dan Pink from the there's an important book about motivation. I will share it here, and Dan Pink is saying that the one of the most easiest things to do to motivate people is when we accomplish small tasks or accomplish small things, and you are proud of it, like, oh, I did finish that feature, oh, it was great, oh man, well, tomorrow I will change that because I can improve that, I will refactor that code, and then we start thinking to continue working, and this is make like you eh, when you finish one part, you become motivated to continue working on that. So if you have a small things during the day will make you be motivated to continue that in the next day, in the next day, in the next day, and makes you more motivated. It is interesting because Dan Pink was talking about these bigger things that he has in this book. That is uh, the what no the name of the book here. It's an important book, The Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us. I will share the link after. And this is and he talks about that autonomy, mastery, and purpose, right? And one of these things is that he say when we say about the small things, you can be motivated by mastery. So in developers work, when I create a good code, I became proud of myself, and then I say, oh, I'm good at it, right? So, well, I can be better at it, and people will see how much I am good at code, and then it keeps you motivating to study more, do this difficult work like a refactor or something, or some other, or to show us in this code because, oh, this is interesting, and then you can continue doing this in the project, and this is one of the topics that Dumping says that motivates us, and this is really really cool when we see, because developers are really motivated by mastery things, right? So if we love to create good code, we love to see the things working, we love to go to conference and try to know more about things, right? And this is all about knowledge, or as we always say, like working on a good project, working on a project that makes you proud, right? And then that's something that motivated me a lot in the beginning, because when I was a beginner, or a junior developer, right? Everything is new, right? Every piece of code you do is the first time you're doing that, and they say, "Oh, this is great." And then you see like a talk, well, for example, Bruno talking about more other things, other Java things, and you say, "Oh, I could use that thing that Bruno said in the talk," and then you keep you motivated to do any more and more and more and more. So it's really cool. I had this, and the difficult part is to continue having this kind of motivation when you grow in the career, right?
Consistently, yeah.
Yeah. I think the both
Money.
of you touch the same point from different angles, and it's almost like if you even if everybody or anybody did many of the things both of you said, we would have a lot more motivated developers. Like for example, like you mentioned, autonomy, mastery, and purpose. It's the same thing for me. 15 years ago, when I started 25 years ago, but I really started understanding that I need to develop and become better even better than I was 10, 15 years ago. And I realized actually when I went out into the community, I was like, oh, wow, these are such strong developers. And they took the same amount of time to come to their career that I took at their career point. So that motivated me even more. There's so much more to learn. There's so much I can do. There's so much I don't know. And when I was looking at what I knew, and then I was looking at what they know and the books they read and the books they wrote and the code they wrote, and then they went to conferences and they presented. I mean, that is the motivation cycle that never stopped for a long time. It's still going on, right? Of course, the drive was much stronger like 5 years ago, 7 years ago, but now it's more stabilized. But like now that motivation is not gone away because now I look up to them. Like, you gave good example was Bruno. When Bruno presents things, then when Bruno got an award a month ago or 2 months ago, if he got the community award, a lifetime achievement award at Oracle's what was it, Java 1 conference. I mean, that when people see that and people who know him, they feel even more motivated to do stuff, right? So lots of these small and big things matter. And Hugo has actually touched on a good point. Is motivation is very subjective. For everybody, motivation is different. But a lot of common things like strong developers, great code, good project, all those things are actually sometimes very common across all the developers, right? Meaning it's a common factor across all the developers, even though every developer is motivated differently. Hence, I was thinking actually whilst both of you were talking, what does a good engineering manager do to keep his or her developers motivated? And it's very hard for them when they have big teams across time zones, across diversity, culture, and now how do you keep them motivated? So you do common things, right? You do common things. Common things would be allow them to build Easter eggs in the application, right, within reasons, of course. or allow them to
I
have
never allowed that. Good.
allow them to have hackathons once a month where they come up with their own ideas, and if the idea is good enough, they can bring it into production and they'll get rewarded, right? Or and many companies do that, or have them work on their personal projects and present it. And also the same thing, if their personal project adds value to what the company does, you build it into the system and things like that. So that way you kind of whatever everybody's doing outside their work, you allow them to blend that into the work, and then you keep them motivated, because of course work requirements may always differ from what you're doing in your personal life with projects or whatever, right? So a good manager will always try to see, how do I keep my developers motivated, by having to allow them to continue doing what they're doing outside work in the professional sphere. And if those things are attractive, they can, or useful, and they bring value, they can share it with the rest of the developers. They can even create a project to make it part of our code base, or open source it, and then we support them. There's so many angles to it. Like if people like to develop games, allow them to write games that they can contribute and play with. People like to write plugins, then form these action groups where people are writing those plugins and talking to each other about it. If somebody wants to explore AI, then create those communities, those smaller communities within your organization, and maybe allow a Slack channel to develop around it, and then people go and share things, and so that's going to keep people motivated. I mean, this is one of the many things that I'm sure good engineering managers have great things in the pipeline. Like this actually gives me I have actually repeated this several times in several sessions. There is this guy called the engineering manager called Fred George. The idea behind he has this concept called developer anarchy, and I've actually explained this. If somebody remembers, I don't know, Hugo, you may remember, maybe Pedro, you remember as well. So this engineering manager was very unique. What's that? Did you say something?
Developer what?
Developer anarchy. I'm going to share the link.
Okay.
Yeah, so I will explain to you what he does that, and I think that is also a good way to keep developers motivated, and developers of all kinds of different skills, all kinds of different programming languages, backgrounds, polyglots, you name it. So what he does is that so he's written an article on InfoQ, and I'm going to share that in the chat. Let me know if you got this. the author has written the article on. So in short, a very simple idea of what he's doing is he's a developer engineer. Sorry, he's an engineering manager, and he runs teams, and the teams have various skills, right? They come from various backgrounds, right? And they have business requirements, right? The business wants them to write code and develop solutions. So what he's doing is, and they haven't, and see, every company has this. You don't know what is the best combination of tools that are needed to develop a solution for your company, right? A lot of times people say, oh, we developed it in Python, and then we realize actually this wasn't the right tool to develop it in, but now we cannot scrap it because we spent so much time and money on it. Management's not going to allow us to write it in another language. So what Fred George has done, he's working on the edge a little bit, is he makes the teams work on a particular language in a particular sprint and develop the same application. So 1 or 2 sprints, they will develop it in Clojure. Then after that, they will experiment everything and then do everything Clojure. The same tool, the next sprint or sprint 2-3 sprints later, they'll write it in Scala. And then after that, so they'll throw away. In some cases, they throw away the code because they're not so precious about the code. What they're trying to do is trying to explore a tool to find out if the tool is suitable for the business domain they're trying to problem solve, right? And then they keep on doing this. And what he does, he cross-pollinates the developers. So for example, if this team is writing the code in Clojure, the whole team is now made up of mixed developers. Somebody from Python, somebody from .NET, somebody from, they've never done Clojure before. So they're learning Clojure, stretching, and maybe some Clojure developers. So they mixed team. They're learning Clojure on the fly and developing the business tool, right? The same business tool. Then the next sprint, he cross-pollinates them again in other teams to do other with other developers, but then they are doing in Scala. But then they don't have Scala. All of them don't have Scala experience. And so he does this all across, right? And this is what I understood from the readings and the videos I've watched, is you explore a business domain using a tool at a time. And then what you've done is you've actually done triple whammy here. One is you've learned a new language every time. Two is you've learned a new language to solve the same business problem. The third is you've learned more about the business domain or the business problem, right? Because when you do the same thing multiple times, you do one thing in multiple ways, you actually understand that problem even better, because some tool will allow you to do this, some other tool will allow you to do that, and so on and so forth. So you fill up all the gaps you have in your understanding about that business domain. So here we are actually not learning tools. He's actually teaching people how to master business domains. This is my understanding of what he's trying to do. And that's why he's a great engineering manager. But he's also cross-pollinating them. He's sending them in different teams. He's making them work with developers of different skills and different backgrounds and different styles of writing code. You have a functional guy, you have a non-functional guy, you have imperative developer, you have a procedural. He's putting all of them together and then making them do, balance up their skills. So imagine after like a year or 2 years working with him, you've gone through so many teams. So will your motivation be high or low? Tell me now. If you're working with an engineering manager like this person, your motivation
would be
is always
great.
going to be high. It's always going to be high because you're always going to be on your toes, right? You're always going to be interested. Because the problem solving never stops. You're never bored. See, motivation drops if you're bored. It's the same old crap code base. Oh, it's the same thing I'm seeing again and again. Oh, it's the same feature added. Okay, I know it's the same redundant cycle. No, every few sprints, the work culture is different. It's the same problem.
That sounds great, and I think, but it feels me like a very expensive way to keep those exercise, right?
Yeah, yes and no. Yes and no. You're right. It is expensive, but it is the same thing with TDD, right? Is TDD an expensive way to write code, or is it a efficient and effective way to write code? Tell me. an efficient and an
yeah,
effective
yeah.
way to write code. TDD.
Well, I think it has his efficiency because we improve the understanding of the requirement, we
Yes.
improve the structure of the code, we improve the maintainability of the code when you do
Similar,
3D, So
Yeah,
there
and you're
is,
throwing away
of
things
course,
in TDD as well, right? You're writing and you're throwing away things. Like every time you
yeah,
create a new
you
test, you
change things.
refactor. Yeah, rinse and repeat,
yeah.
rinse and repeat. He
Yeah.
is similarly doing the same thing with at the engineering level. Rinse and
Uh-huh.
repeat, rinse and repeat,
Yes,
rinse and
yes,
repeat.
I agree that
Yeah,
the
interesting.
results might pay for this expensiveness because you will have a much more productive and motivated engineers in the end of the day. I don't know how, I think that's of course a balance of that. It's the same discussion with TDD, and especially when like we have some teams that use TDD, some teams that doesn't use, and the problem is that it's still you have to be to get to work with that. It takes a bit of time, right? I understand that.
Yes. Yep.
And yeah, but it's an investment.
It
I
is. It
totally
is. So
understand.
see,
I totally understand.
it is not one shirt fits all
One shot.
solution.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
For
It is
sure.
not that every company should go ahead and do it. It's very subjective to many things. See, he had an environment. Oh, we have a guest here, and now he's disappeared. Oh, he's come back again. So what I was saying is, hey Bruno, good
Hey.
to see you
Hey,
here.
Bruno.
You're making special guest appearance these days. You're thinking you're a celebrity.
No, I'm just
Hey,
late,
Bruno.
right? So that's not a way of being a celebrity.
You're
but
45. You're 45 minutes late, my friend. We
I am.
started 45 minutes ago.
Wait for
Maybe you
you
moved
were
time
in
zones.
another podcast.
Okay, so let me correct this. The clock here says 38 minutes. So 38
Oh,
minutes.
okay. He's starting to be politically correct now. Wow. Well, you could be right. You could be right. We started 5 minutes later. You're right about that one.
Right.
Yeah. I think Pedro, you
Everyone-
stopped yourself from asking something. Maybe you want to ask it. Be brave and ask it. You're going to ask something. You're going to tell Bruno something. Maybe you are in another what? What pod? What?
Another podcast. Yeah, we are thinking that you are creating another podcast, and then
Oh.
you were there. Yeah.
No. I was in another meeting that I told Hugo before, right? That I had this other meeting that was probably gonna run over, and but I'm here, right? So I'm here because this is the last meeting of the year, right? It's so amazing
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
we've done this the whole year round. Now
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt the discussion. I was watching here before I joined. I was watching for a few minutes of discussion about the solving problems in multiple different languages and all that. So I think that's a pretty interesting way of practicing and being better, right? So I'm not sure if you're still got in that discussion or not, but that's the one I got.
Yeah, that is the discussion. In fact, I'll tell you a smaller version of this practice. So first of all, like anything you do, there needs to be buy-in, if you know what I mean by buy-in, right?
Mhm.
Because anything you do, whether agile, TDD, best practices, you name it, there needs to be a buy-in horizontally and vertically, right? Uh,
Mhm.
Wide and up, right? So if there is no buy-in, you will not see productivity. It will not even move forward. So I have had the good fortune to work with a few such people from the community who know about the developer anarchy concept, but they never wanted to do the developer anarchy concept. But they did tell me that, Mani, we like to work with you because you try to do one thing in 5 different ways. Because the stage which we are just now, we need to experiment and find out which of these 5 ways are good for us.
Mhm.
Because we are a
Mhm.
small team, we cannot just put all our eggs in one basket, right?
Mhm.
We need to figure out
Mhm.
in the early stages where we want to go. And also we want to experiment and find out if this is even a viable thing to do. So when you do things in 5 different ways and solve it in 5 different ways with 5 different combinations of solutions, then we can see we can see so many different things that it gives us a better understanding of what we are trying to do.
Mhm.
That is what I did, is I took down that developer anarchy big idea and I really diluted down to and I have some repositories I can share later on, where I have done the same kata with like 5 different methods. Like in Java, I did the first time I did the kata with assert library. Then the next time I did it with JUnit. The next time I did it with testng. Then the next time I did it with approval tests. The next time I did it with Golden Master. And I did it on separate different branches. And I did the same kata. The code looks quite different at sometimes, mostly the test code, but the implementation code doesn't change too much. But then even then you can also apply the same combination for the implementation. You can use different frameworks. Spring Boot in one instance, use Micronaut in another one, use GraalVM, and so on and so forth. So you're solving the same problem, but with different combinations of packages and tools and libraries. And I made this publicly available. It's available on my GitHub, and I'll share the repo a little bit later. But that is what I have been doing even with my client projects and in other projects that I've been doing, where I will solve something in multiple different ways. So I flesh out the problem domain in my head for myself by trying different tools. But I'm also flexing my skills by expanding my ability to use different kinds of tools. Right. So it's a double whammy. You have to capture the business domain. Nobody cares about your technology. Nobody cares whether you are a skilled developer or not. If you capture the business domain, you are ruling the market. You're ruling the game. You're ruling your client's project, because the client is more interested in the solution than the tool or how you created the solution. Right. That's the secondary thing. This is what I've been. It took me 20 years to figure this out. It's about the business domain. It is not about technology and tools.
Right.
And I think Bruno has said this in other presentations. I know Bruno has said this. He writes it in his newsletters many times in many different words, but this is what he says. It's not about the technology. It's not about the tools. It's about the business domain. And so, going back to our previous conversation, and actually we have tangented, right? We started from developer motivation to solving problems in different ways, but that is sort of connected, because if you create an environment like this where you're giving your developer the ability to use, you said today you just use your own tools but solve this problem, right? And we'll all use that tool. Then you're going to keep the developer motivated, right? Because I know we all want to work with one standard set of tools because it is useful for so many different things. But if to create motivation, you want to make them use different tools and different packages and all that stuff. And there's also ways around it where you can still bring a standard. So if you want to blend the two, motivation and stretching of your developer skills, then you want to give the developers freedom to solve the problem in their own way, but in multiple ways, and present all the multiple ways. And then we'll pick one of them from there. Yeah. And actually, if you use proper designing concepts, and not even proper, very simple designing concepts, you can encapsulate and wrap all those solutions that you're using, all the tools that you're using, way behind under interfaces, and your solution can always go through interfaces, and the real problem project will never know what package or tool you're using behind the scenes. If you know what I'm saying, you guys are all familiar, right? If you use interfaces, you can always, ports and adapters, you can always wrap a technology or a package or a library behind a port or an adapter. And then just from this side, it'll never know, right? It's dummy. It'll just call the interface with that function. As long as it gives the right input, you'll get the right output. But you can then, in the future, go and replace JUnit with testng or Spring Boot with Micronaut, and nobody will know something has changed. As long as you have made your interfaces always consistent. So that's the other way around, right? So we can never fail in that sense. And then you're still maintaining your motivation in the team and still maintaining stability and standardization of tools across the board. So yeah, so I think we are doing a little bit of a Calvary here by trying to blend motivation with technology architectures.
Yeah, I was seeing here in the article you shared that the guy is saying that they did all that work re-implementing different languages, but they say, what manager allows you to rewrite the core of the system 3 times? No managers. That's why we don't have managers. I'll say, oh.
Yeah, they are a self-managed team. They are because after you've been cross-pollinated so many times, you don't need a manager. You can always manage yourself because they have a system in place. They know how to run the Jira ticket flows. They know how to run the CI/CD. Everything is almost standard in place. And they know that once they move from a Scala team to a Clojure team, They'll have to just switch their thinking a little bit, voila, and they're able to solve that problem. And they're now able to solve any problem, because once you exercise your brain so many different ways, it's like doing martial arts, or doing those martial arts where, or some of there are some of those martial arts where you have to learn multiple techniques, and you have to learn multiple ways of doing things, and goes through lots of trials before you actually master something. So this is what actually the word kata is a Japanese word, which,
Karate.
if you research it, you already know what it means: practice of a skill, of a trait.
For sure. Yeah, but I want to hear Yogo's opinion about it, because we're saying that we don't need
But
managers. What do you think about it?
what I would be
No,
doing.
but Hugo is not worried about it anymore, because there is some new change that has happened where he is not worried about the manager title. Is that right, Hugo?
Oh, well, I think if we enter into the discussion about if we need a manager or not in the team, I think we're gonna start a whole new discussion. And I think my suggestion is to keep this discussion for the next session, because it will be great to
Okay.
have some
Great
insights.
idea.
I think it will be great.
Great idea.
Yeah,
We
good that we
need
have
topics for our next discussion,
yes,
anyways.
future topics. But one thing that I want to add, yeah, go ahead, Pedro.
Yeah, I just want to comment because all this discussion here is is another topic of Dumping's framework, right? This autonomy, and say, oh, if you give autonomy to people, you improve the motivation, or you maintain people engaged. And
Absolutely.
this is all the discussion here is one way to create this kind of autonomy. But you said other ways, like hackathons, or having you bringing your own project to using the company. All these things are improving the autonomy thing. Not only no managers, no managers would be a complete autonomy, I can say, but not. But there is lots of things I can for to improve that, and I can say that for example, I was in a hackathon last week, and that hackathon was we had a little autonomy, but the autonomy to create things. If you had an idea, you could do it and try, or if you don't have any ideas, you can enter in the team, right? Oh, I don't have any new idea, but I like the idea from my friend here. And then we could see people. I could say I was in the middle of the hackathon when Brazil was losing the game.
Oh.
And yeah, I was really heartbroken in that moment. But in the middle of hackathon, you still keep motivated. No, we need to do that. So are we gonna present that? Oh, you need to add this new feature here. And then we are in the middle. I was like organizing that feature with other people, and that thing makes me motivated. And even I forgot a little about the game, about the Brazil losing the game. But that's the thing I say. It's a small autonomy. It was like 2 days that we have all these things, and then when we got motivation, we got more engagement of the people. We got people new different people from the company, because I was working with different people from my own team, and everything, all these kind of things improves the motivation, and then makes you don't want to leave the company, as one of our questions, right? There's one question: how do we keep the developers there? And then
Absolutely.
and when we say that we improve the motivation, we're using all these techniques like improving mastery, autonomy, and everything, and we can make our company a better place to stay. And you don't want to go, right? And this
absolutely.
is I think all these questions, as you said, they are all connected. And when we take the motivation to the beginning, we can say, oh, my company is a very good place to work, and then you're gonna like to work here. Come join us. right?
Yeah.
So
And you'll go and tell
all
your
the-
friends and everybody else in your network.
yeah, I for example, I'm enjoying my company now, and I say, oh, I want to bring my friends to work with me,
Hmm.
right? So
Absolutely.
all these things are connected. You put people in from to get people to your company. You can make people enjoy working there or and keep
Mhm.
it working there. Using all this technique, you keep they motivated, and then you can get new people in.
Yeah. And then the cycle continues. Yeah.
Yeah, really cool, I can say. All
Yeah,
those
absolutely.
motivations is really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Hugo, you were going to say something as well. Or did
Yes.
you?
Yeah, but that was interesting ad from Pedro, because what I see that about motivation, that you guys said, if I wrap it into some words, and actually before going to my thoughts, I just want to drop a question for my for the audience. What actually motivates you in the to become developers, or to stay as a developer inside a company? And actually, there's another question, that is, what dismotivates you to stay on a company? Maybe those two questions. If you can contribute on discussion, please drop your answer here. And well, while we wait for some answers here, so what was clear for me is that experimenting is something very motivating for developers. When we talk about this cross, I know that motivations can be very different for it, but thinking across level that we can apply
Mhm.
to everyone. Experimenting environments, I believe that what Manny said, yes, if we have a way to experiment things, it's a great way to keep things interesting, to explore new things, new ways to build things. Other thing is about the autonomy that Pedro said. So having autonomy, it's a way to you have your own responsibility. Although I understand that we probably need someone to tell the level of autonomy that you can handle there. Other way, it can be it can become a stressful situation if you get too much things. And one thing, I think Manny said one more thing, not experimenting, autonomy, and why
Purpose.
we're talking. Sorry.
Uh, what did I say? What is it? I think I was repeating what Pedro was saying was autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Is that what you're talking about?
Autonomy, master, environment,
Environment.
being
Okay.
inside the community, feeling that you are part of a community that is not just the company community, but it can extend to the outside, to the whole
Yes.
development
Yes.
community. I think that's
Exactly.
amazing, because you feel that you are progressing, you are not stuck in the company, you are progressing, growing in your field, in what you are trying to actually focus or growing, and not just
Mhm.
inside some company stack. And I think that's also a great way to motivate people. One thing that I was when we started our discussion, one thing that came in my mind that I want to contribute here is when we are talking about these that developers, we do love to see results, to be motivated by the results. Like Pedro said in the very beginning, when we accomplish something, when we achieve something, we are become happy with that. And I think that is the science behind all the methodologies that we try to shrink our deliveries, shrink shrink the cycles of delivery, and also that shrink the feedback loop, that we quickly have some result behind it. So I think that is something is very, when you have those small accomplishments, and when we see those small accomplishments, instead of waiting for a long time to actually only celebrate when things are the entire project of the year are delivered, we can celebrate small accomplishment. I think that is a great way also to keep things motivating, to keep things motivated. It's a lot of things that we can do around that, by providing some good pipelines of delivery and make it continuously, by organizing our sprints, and every time we deliver something, we can celebrate that, and see the results of that, and also give the proper prize of the for people for accomplishing that. I think that's that valuing people with that accomplishment. I think that's at my at, at a point of view of management. I think that's a great way to provide something that developers will value a lot during the day, and not only in the end, just during every week. If we
Yeah,
keep with
absolutely,
that.
absolutely. Yeah, I think Pedro was spot on the whenever we see quick results on something, that means we feel, oh, it works, but we are not realizing it's only that incremental step that works. We need to still do these incremental steps continuously to actually create the end result. But at least the initial thing works, instead of like a waterfall process where you wait and wait and it never works in the end, and then you're demotivated. I mean, what Pedro was talking about earlier was that all those different things he mentioned, they are actually all different forms of autonomy, because autonomy is not just one thing. It has to be approached from various angles, because autonomy means different things for different people. And so hence you've got to do all kinds of things, like, presentations, community, projects, this, that, and the other. And I think, Hugo, at one point you were trying to say cross-pollinating teams. I think that's what you meant when you were trying to show with your action. Yeah, you meant cross-pollinating, because that is very important. It keeps people motivated, but it also breaks the ice between people, and it blends people together very well, and it stretches people's ability. So it does a lot of different things. People don't realize the power of cross-pollination. And good managers like Fred George did that extensively. So that way every developer is capable from a business front, but also from a technology front, but also from people front, because they know how to deal with different people of different skills, different levels, different mindsets, different backgrounds. You name the diversity, because they're being cross-pollinated, right? No one team is the same after every 2 sprints or 3 sprints. You decide how long you want them to stay together, right? Okay, there is this flux where it's too fast or too slow, but you got to decide that. You got to experiment and decide how much of a time should they stay together before they disband and go to a new team, right? Because after a number of sprints, they will come back again, more or less the same people, right? Because it all rotates depending on how the team grows. What I wanted to say is that I didn't explain this very well, or at least I got the ideas now, is that to keep a team motivated, it's a great way to find out what are their interests, what do they want to develop, and then list all of those things and create side projects and back burner projects, and have those projects always on some Jira board. So whenever a team has less work, or they're not finding some work interesting, give them the freedom to switch once a week. Like, we have sometimes some companies have Fridays, half a day, do what you want to do. That half a day or the full day in some companies, you work on your side project. Like I have worked in one company where on a Friday we don't need to go to a client. We can come and work in our office, and half of the day sometimes you can just work on your own projects. So that own project is actually a side project or a back burner project supported by a Jira board that's run in the company, that is transparent and visible to everybody, so people can join in, they can comment on it, you can create pull requests and ask them for views. And that switches the context from like a mundane client project to like an interesting side project. And that interesting side project is also doing the same thing, right? It's building something on a CI/CD pipeline, and you're trying new technologies there, and you never know, bits and pieces of that can be applied into your client project, this client project or a future one. And that is another way to keep people motivated, because you're not then just keep creating redundant, mundane environments where it's rigid and you cannot flex. This is something developers will not be able to keep up with if you're not giving them the flexibility and the autonomy, and making them feel like, oh, this is a box, you got to just work in this box. That doesn't work. That's demotivating. Yeah. And most important, I actually wanted to say this: developers need to feel growth. If they don't feel growth, there is no motivation. Motivation and growth go together. growth, meaning you feel you have grown, you've become better, you can now do more things, you have more skills. So growth and motivation go hand in hand. If you don't make them feel growth, if you don't, they will be demotivated after some time, no matter how many of those things you do, like all the side projects and cross pollination, all of that's not going to work if they don't feel growth.
Perfect.
Let me give a space for. I just want to thank Vanya. Just type it here for her. The type of project, it's what motivates her, right? It's the type of the project, what topic is about, and what tools are used for solving. And what do you think, Bruno? Just let you join in the conversation.
Yes, Bruno, why don't you step in? You've been
You
quiet the
enter
last
and
45
keep
minutes.
the
I mean-
talking.
I've been quiet here because I want to be the devil's advocate in the whole motivation discussion here, right? I love that for Vanya, for example, there is a specific type of things that she's motivated about, right? Project topics and new and tools and everything. But the problem with motivation is that motivation is it's like this activation energy, right? Motivation is that thing that gets you started on something, right? It's activation energy. And we don't actually have a lot of motivation, right? Our brains don't live on motivation. And every time I see companies, right? And look, I think all those ideas are great, right? From all the ideas that you guys are talking about, the whole discussion about being autonomous, right? I think that is the important thing. Why? Because motivation is a much more internal thing than an external thing. It's much more something that you do to yourself than something that your company does, right? Your company is already motivating you. It's paying you, right? Here's money, right? So do it, right? Now, you are the one that turned that into real motivation, because you have money because you want to buy a house for your family, right? You want to have a trip to Hawaii, right? You want to go see a friend in London, right? And go meet him there, right? You create the things that you want to do, right? The things that you are going after, right? And I think that's very important, because the reality is we don't have a lot of motivation in our life, man. If we needed motivation to do everything that we do in our lives, right, we would not even be able to leave the house in the morning, because by the time that we're about to leave the house, our motivation would be run out, right? So basically, we do motivation to get started, and once we get started, it's not motivation, it's habits, right? It is consistency, it is methods, right? Those are the things that keep us going, right? And a lot of things you guys talking about here, I thought it's awesome, right? Oh yeah, how interesting things to do, interesting projects, and nice technology, all this. Yeah, it's all great, right? But I sent a video to our groups earlier, a couple of days ago. Something that I thought was awesome, right? It's what's the name of that guy from Mission Impossible? I'm terrible.
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. Think about Tom Cruise, right? So Tom Cruise, they just released it for the next Mission Impossible, right? They released this video of Tom Cruise doing the biggest stunt from the history of cinema, right? And it's you guys should watch it, right? It's just maybe we can just put the link here. I have the link right here. So and it's just a YouTube link here. So I'm just gonna put it here on the chat. I think I can just go in the chat, right? So Mission Impossible, right?
Is that the 2023 version? Mission Impossible 7.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be the next one,
Okay.
right?
I just shared it.
I just put right there, right? So no, so that's not the Mission Impossible. I think that's another video. It's the one that he's practicing for doing the stunt, right? And so
Okay.
so if you see what he's doing, right? So I mean, it's a crazy stunt. I mean, he's actually going on a motorcycle. He's jumping off of a cliff, and then he parachutes on the cliff. Right, that's him. It's not a double. It's him. It's awesome, right? It's amazing. Now, for doing that, he does for more than a year, he practiced to do that. He does more than 500 parachute jumps, right? He does more than 1,200 motorcycle jumps, right? The guy's a machine, right? He's crazy. And just think about this a minute. Doing a parachute jump, man, can there be something more amazing than that, right? It's like awesome, right? It's not, oh, your job is to parachute jump. That's awesome. But 500 times? Oh, man, right? It gets a point that's not fun anymore, right? Going on a motorcycle, that must be, oh, man, I have lost my connection here.
No,
you're
you're
here.
here.
You're fine. We can hear
Okay, right.
you.
So, okay, cool. So jumping on a motorcycle, man, that must be awesome, right? But 1,200 times, man, come on, right? So I think that's the problem, right? You can do amazing things, right? But if all you're relying on your career, all you're relying on your project is to be motivated, it's gonna get a point that you're gonna say, man, I don't want to do this anymore, right? So then that's why there is motivation, important, very important, but there's also habits, there's also structure, there's also method, right? That once you're motivated to get started, but once you get started, you do because you have to do it, right? So just something for us to think about, right? So that's why I think for all of you that are watching us here, right, it's important that you have your own personal motivation, right? You have to do things because you want to do it, right? Because it has to be something that's higher than you, right? It's higher than what you're doing, because otherwise, companies are going to be throwing. It's like throwing things for the dog, so maybe the dog's going to catch, right? It's like the companies have to create these new ideas, right? Just to get you motivated. When actually you have to have your motivation, you have to have your structure, you have to have your system. Otherwise, you're not going to do it, right? So that's the thing I want to talk about a little bit in terms of motivation, right? Yes, you can say, man, let's go jump from a parachute, and like, awesome, that's a great day. Let's do this 500 times, right? and even if you watch the video, even the final jump, right? The final jump, because he practiced parachute, he practiced motorcycle, right? Many times, right? And then that's all practice. This is just practice, right? It's not the real thing. So when he goes on and he does the real thing, right? Even the real thing, he does like 6 or 7 times. He jumps from this huge, unbelievable big cliff with a motorcycle. And he goes in the middle of this, it's in a wall of stone that if anything goes wrong, he dies, right? And then he opens his parachute. And he does this 6 times, right? It's like, man, just to get a perfect shot for the movie, right? So, I don't know how long this scene lasts in the movie, but it's like 2 minutes, right?
30 seconds?
I don't know, right? So, and then, he does like more than a year, all this effort just to do this one thing. And I think that's, if you map that to our job, we practice for hours and hours and hours. And then we write one line of code, right? That's the one that goes to production, right? So that's the same thing, right? What goes to production, it's not all the practice that we had. It's not all the experience that we had. It's not all the katas that we did, right? Well, it's not all the tasks, the code that we wrote, but all of those things just prepare us for this one moment. That's the one thing that we do makes a lot of sense, right? So, and I think that's, those 2 things have to go hand in hand: motivation, but also the continuation of doing it. Otherwise, we're just not going to get anywhere.
I think you hit the nail on the head by calling motivation a starting fluid, because it is. Once you get motivated, then you're not always catching on to the motivation. Then you've caught on to the next thing, which is sustainability and continuity. and then habit, then discipline, then practice. It's the practice that actually keeps you motivated. Actually, it's not motivation that gives you the practice. It's every time you practice, you get results, and you're seeing you're growing, you're getting better. That's continuously, yes, the starting fluid. And I knew that you give Bruno a chance to sit and listen, he will blow us out of the water. So the last 45 minutes of this video can be erased because the first 45 minutes can be erased because the last 15 minutes makes more sense. Yeah, he's blown us out of the water. He comes in late as a special guest and he blows us out of the water. Hugo, you got to next time block him from joining at 45 minutes because then he cannot blow us out of the water. You come right in the beginning, then you can blow us out of the water, not after 45 minutes.
I have
right,
honey. I have the advantage of hindsight, right? I've been
exactly. You've been watching and listening.
I've been
Exactly,
listening for you guys for a while until I was able to join you here, right?
Yeah.
So,
But even then, even without that, I know Bruno. I've said this many times. Bruno is always ready with everything. He's always listening. Even in a continuous conversation, he's always listening and he's jumping and he'll say the right thing. So, and if you've given him now 45 minutes to listen, now you've really lost the battle.
So can I tell you one thing, Manny, that's I think is very important? Because I just kind of want to say this thing that you just mentioned there. Because one thing, as a speaker, Bruno gets a ban for being too knowledgeable. Thanks, Douglas. Okay, so no, but one thing that I think is it's very important, and I think all of us can benefit from there. Lots of people tell me, "Oh, I don't have courage to come and speak," right? Or you guys do this, you come all in a panel, and I don't have the courage to do that, right? Because I'm shy, or I have I'm introvert, right? I get this a lot, right? So I'm an introvert, so I cannot be a speaker. I cannot share my knowledge or things like this. But the reality, what Manny just point out here, that's the advantage of the introvert, right? Because the introvert can just listen, and sometimes that's all it takes, right? You listen, and then you add something to the conversation, right? Whenever you're ready to add something to the conversation. So if you're listening to us here and you're shy and you're introverts, right? I do recommend that use that to your advantage, right? And so thanks, Manny. I'm the guy that stays in a conversation, a party. I'm the guy that just sits there listening because I love to listen.
No, but yeah, right? You've changed the role. You've changed the role this time around because normally when you join, you're blending with us with every conversation. Of course, you're always you're always on the top of the game and you're listening and you're firing the right shots and all that stuff. But today you've changed the game quite a bit. Today you're really quiet and introvert. That is dangerous, right? For us.
Dangerous. Right? Yes,
three of us.
It is a dangerous
and hence in 15 minutes, you've blown away 45 minutes.
Yes. Listening. Look, guys, if there is one skill, talk about not needing managers, you talk about autonomy, you talk about all those amazing things that you guys are discussing. And if there's one skill they're going to give you all of that is listening, right? So listening is a good skill. And it's hard, man. Lots of times
it is hard. Yes. Because it is hard and embarrassing. But it is,
most of the time we try to listen so we can speak, right? Oh, what I'm going to say, right? But if you take the time to just listen, I love this. I know. Thanks for letting me do this.
But actually, I see Bruno's contribution as an ad because in the very beginning we see that there are two perspectives about motivation, right? I think there are people that is like developers that wants to give is after motivation, and then that totally makes sense to the practice brings the motivation, and the consistency is the very important thing. The habit that we create are the building blocks that will actually help us. And there are other perspectives that if you are more you are a senior developer, you are a manager like me, or you are someone that is into account of some development team. I think we have some tools that can actually enable to make it easier. So I think that's an ad of if you want to help someone, your team to get motivated, because you have this, you have to take to actually care about your team. I think the listening is the very important skill for that. Anything that we taught are very maybe something that you can practice, but if you listen, you will be much more close to what actually your team needs or your developer needs, so you can actually help them get better or going going forward, growing your team. And I see a whole discussion here on the chat. I couldn't follow up you guys, but you're laughing on behind while I'm talking here. So yeah.
Well, but I mean, we are having a conversation whilst
Right.
we are listening to your conversation.
Right. So behind the scenes here, the three of us are kind of undermining Hugo here. I'm gonna pull Hugo's carpet under him.
Yeah.
But it's like it's exactly the opposite, right? Remember, Bruno, when Hugo joined several months ago, he was the one like you, quiet, not saying anything, and we had to trigger him to say stuff. And
Yes.
now it looks like he's taking your position, and you've probably started to take his position. I mean,
That's
of
good,
course,
right?
there's still the same Bruno. The knowledge hasn't transferred, but I think the gestures have transferred. Where you are the quiet one, and Hugo is now firing
Nice.
all the on all the cylinders, firing all his knowledge to us, the things that he's learned from everywhere, from you and everybody. He's just like, he's on 4 cylinders.
Bruno is giving Hugo motivation, because Bruno is giving Hugo, delegates to Hugo these things, giving Hugo autonomy.
No. I didn't delegate anything, right? Hugo took over, right?
Oh,
It's
Autonomy.
that's autonomy.
autonomy.
That's
Autonomy.
autonomy. It's not delegation. It's autonomy,
And now Hugo sees the purpose, and hence
Right.
he's beginning to start to master it.
Yes, exactly, right? So he
So
took
he's
over,
now
man.
highly motivated. He's
Yeah.
now highly motivated. If you see, he goes and fills in the Dropbox paper. He creates the events. He does a whole creates a restream. There's a whole number of things he does. He's also created a logo this time, which I don't know, Bruno, if you've been looking at the chat.
I
Not
didn't see
one,
the-
3 logos.
You see, Pedro, it's not delegation, man. It's
Exactly.
autonomy, right? I didn't even know there was a logo here now. That's awesome.
See, is a logo.
Cool.
There's a logo on this stream. If you just look at the stream in the list, but
That's
but
cool.
also he shared the logo in the channel, in the chat channel of ours.
That's nice. That's congratulations, Hugo. That's great.
So
So
there you go.
yeah, I think that there's one thing that someone, I don't remember who said that, but it's kind of put a red alert on me. Someone said that someone needs to tell you how much autonomy you have. So if someone has to tell you what autonomy you have, then you don't have autonomy, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
That's-
go after your autonomy, right? So go
Mhm.
find your space, and for you to have lots of autonomy, you have to have responsibility. And I think that's what
Right.
Hugo is doing, right, Money? He took responsibility for it, right? So when you took responsibility, when you say, I'll do it, and then you go and you do the things that need to be done, right? So then you win autonomy. So autonomy is not something that someone gives you. Is autonomy something that you because you're
Earned.
responsible, you solve bigger problems, and then you take it, right? Basically,
Yeah, you take over it. Yeah,
yes. So basically, they're watching us here. Go take over your autonomy,
Yeah.
right? Go
you
build your
take
own
charge.
autonomy.
You take charge of it, right? Yeah.
Yes. So that's
Great.
what Hugo's doing here. Awesome, Hugo. Thanks, man.
Well done, Hugo.
Yeah.
Okay. thanks
Soon
for
soon he's going to win the community award. You have to create one, Bruno.
Right. We're gonna create the out of the box developer community award, right?
Yeah, rising star.
so that's
Right.
Hugo.
That's a good one.
I don't know. Usually we need to come with more better names. Like rising star sounds maybe something, but maybe Hugo is is deserving a more stronger title than just Rising Star. I'll leave this with you, Bruno. It's just an idea.
Whatever award, I'll be happy with taking it. But yeah, I think that's a great opportunity to actually wrap up today and start sharing our books, right? I think
Right.
that was
So now that Hugo is all red because we're talking about him, let's wrap up. Right. That's perfect.
yeah. Let's grab this opportunity. Let me grab this opportunity.
Yeah. Let's do that.
So I don't know. Yeah, who wants to start with sharing the book? That's our tradition here.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
I
Bruno.
just mentioned I want to start with the book then, because I came late.
Great.
I didn't think about the book, but when Manny was talking about being listening and then I start talking about being shy and all that, I remember that my book about speaking is exactly the low-hanging talks, right? And it says ways for you to speak even if you're frank shy, right? So that's actually the title of my book. So that's the one I remember. So that's the book I wanna quickly put out here. So that's the book right here, and I'll put the link there, right? So 4 plays and 5 tips to become an amazing speaker. So basically the idea is that you can have even if you're frank shy, if you never spoke before, that's a great book. Here's the link. I'm gonna put the link in the chat, and that's a QR code right there too, but I'm gonna just put the link in the chat. So and it's free, right? So I'm gonna start with that book. How about that?
Yeah, I think it's a great one. It totally blends with what we just said about communication and listening and speaking and stuff like that.
Right. Okay. So I'm just gonna put it in the chat here. All right. Okay. So that was mine. And the reason I'm suggesting this book is because, first of all, is because it's free. Second, because I really think that if you want to have more autonomy, if you want to have more motivation, the more you are able to help others, the more you're able to speak, the more you're able to share your knowledge, the more autonomy you get for yourself because you take more responsibility, the more you help other people, the more you help other people, the more motivated you are to do even more, right? So I think it's a way, speaking is a way to blend all the things that we talk about here. So.
Absolutely. And with that, whilst Bruno was introducing his book, I've shared this book that I have here by me, not specific to what Bruno has been talking about. It's called Natural Language Processing with PyTorch. For those who are interested in stretching their NLP skills using PyTorch, can explore this book. I think it's a great book. O'Reilly always has great authors writing these books. I highly recommend it. There are many books on NLP, and so this could be a good start, and then you can branch out to other books.
So tell me one thing, Manny. So natural language processing, that's the thing that you use when you're doing chats, for example. Is that we had the discussion about ChatGPT, for example. Is that what those tools use to?
Yes. So yeah, it comes under, or at least there's a big overlap between NLP and those technologies that we're looking at the moment.
Cool.
But NLP can be much broader than that. It could be a lot of taking a lot of text and understanding the text and making that text various things you could do, like converting into a rule-based system, or converting into a model, or converting into something that is searchable, and then there's the whole gamut of things. But you're right about what you just said.
Nice. Okay. No, I'm just saying that this is one of the biggest areas of research and evolution that we have right now, right? Because
absolutely.
That's awesome. Cool. Very good. So
and amazing. It is connected to communication. So that kind of
cool. Amazing suggestion, Manny. That's great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna suggest the Dan Pink book, The Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us. It's all about we were discussing today, autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And this is the Dan Pink has a fantastic TED talk that started all this thing, right? That is, it's easily find in the in YouTube here. It talks about this all this motivational things we discussed here. So I think it's a classic. It's a good suggestion to this topic.
That's great.
Great.
So one question, Pedro.
Hmm.
Does Drive suggest you ideas of things that you can do yourself?
Sorry, I didn't. I think I didn't get.
Is the book Drive, right? It talks about motivation, right? But does it
Yeah.
also talk about actions that you can do yourself?
Yeah, it's to understand what all of how we motivate ourselves, like why we sometimes we something that we motivate that should motivate us doesn't, and then we start understanding all this all these three important things that we discussed here, and then we try to we started to see this in our lives. So this is the interesting thing.
Show. Awesome. That's great, man.
Oh, including Douglas just mentioned it here that he needs to reread Drive. Looks like I have this one in my library already.
Yeah,
Great,
it's an
Douglas.
important one.
And from my side, if you entered here because you are worried about your team and you want to help your team keep motivated, there's a book called Culture Code: Secret Highly Successful Teams. So it's a book from Daniel Coyle, and in the end, there's some examples of teams that are successful, and some examples and some things that he got from that he learned from that teams, and in the end you will find some actions that actually you can apply to your team and to see what you get in the end. So it's very interesting if you are after some actions that could help your team.
That's pretty cool. So Hugo,
Yeah.
do you apply those strategies with your team? Have you experimented with them?
Yes. Actually, there are a couple of questions that you can gather some feedback and see how we can grow together, and some actions that some feedback that you can get from your team. So that's a topic that we're talking in the very end about listening our team, what our team actually are looking for. So we can there, of course, since we are talking about motivation, there are both. I'm motivated to help you, but I need them to want to be helped or to want to share it to me to help them. And I think there's a way. This is a good way, good actions to actually connect both, and you actually drive better actions for your teams. So and that's it. I think for today. It was great content. It was. I appreciate it a lot. I hope who is listening us also enjoyed the discussion, and yeah, keep following us. This year already ended already, or at least this is the last session of the year. And but of course, in the next year we are back here and with a lot more content. And yeah, please keep following us. And if you have anything that you want to that we discuss here, bring here, and have all these great minds here sharing their experience, yeah, it will be very happy to do so. So
yes, and next year, maybe we can have more guests, right? So we can have some special guests coming in, right? So let's work on that. So if you guys have any suggestions, right? So if you're watching us here, if you have any suggestions on what topics you wanna learn or you wanna see about discussions or guests that you wanna us to invite, right? So by all means, let us know. And so thanks everyone. Thanks Hugo. Thanks Manny. Thanks Pedro. It was awesome to spend this year with you guys. Such amazing conversation. I don't even know how many conversations we did, but it was an amazing conversations. I think that's a good moment for us to thank Manny for having the original idea for us to start doing this. So I don't even know when we started, right? It's like several months ago. But thanks a lot, Money, for having the idea, and for everyone that's listening here. Have a blessed Christmas. Have a great start of 2023, and let's be together on 2023 so we can do more.
Thank you, Bruno. Great
Yeah.
words. And I'm humbled that you think I started it. I think we started it together. And I think we know when we started it. We started it on Chinese New Year, early February this year, 2022.
Oh man, so has been
Yes.
basically a year then, right? That's
Yes,
awesome.
it is. It has been almost 10, 11 months.
That's
And
great.
this is the 14th session. Of course, we haven't been doing 2 sessions every month. Sometimes it has just been 1 session, but recently we've been doing 2 sessions a month. So this is the 14th session. So roughly we did a session a month, more or less, this year, and going into January. And we haven't completed 1 year of our inception. So in February,
great.
we'll complete a year. Hopefully, we'll be able to add a few more sessions to this session. And yeah, maybe increase the number to 16, 17, 18. We don't know. It all depends on our free time. But yeah, thanks, Bruno, for believing in me and doing this together. Because, as you know, Bruno is a lifetime community award winner. And I'm just coming up into this thing recently, so I'm not a big star like Bruno is. So if someone like Bruno is agreeing to collaborate with you on something, it is a highly privileged thing for me, right? So where is
Awesome.
Bruno and where is Money, right? So Bruno, Money has to climb up to that level. So this
No,
is
no,
this is
no.
the humility of Bruno, the down to earthness, and it takes a lot of time, and he's created this platform on his this area and opportunity on his platform, and then he's invited Hugo, and then after follows Hugo is Pedro. So to add to that, Bruno was earlier mentioning about suggesting guests. I would also say, if you would like to be a guest on our channel, on our podcast, you have 4 Twitter handles here. Use any one of them or all of them and ping us, and we will get back to you. And we will make space for you for the next coming sessions, because, as I said, we still have 2 more months to go to complete a year. We could at least do 4 sessions, if not 3, if not that 2. You could be on one of those sessions, and
Right.
you can come with a topic, or you'll help us. We will help you figure out a topic among all the topics we already have. So we don't
Cool.
have a less of topics. When we talk to Bruno, there's all kinds of topics coming out all the time. So yeah, thank you very much to Bruno, to Hugo, to Pedro, and everybody who has come to this session for this whole almost a year since February. Especially the audience, they've been adding a lot to the conversations. I know some of our guests. I know Pedro used to be our audience. He's now an audience and a guest. So that's also progress for us. And yeah, listening to us and sharing your own ideas and finding value in what we are saying, and basically acknowledging that all of these really mean a lot to us, because that way we feel motivated to do this kind of a session every 2 weeks, right? That's
Yeah.
our motivation. With that, I'd like to close with a good
Great.
thank you, and have a blessed Christmas and a happy New Year, and see you on the other side.
Cool.
Well, I can thank you all enough, because as many said, I was audience, and now now I'm here as a guest. And well, it's just two the last two moment that I am here, and I feel really motivated to continue. And I wish you all happy holidays, happy New Year, and I think 2023 will be a fantastic year for all of us. Thank you.
Great. So it was great to end the session. Everyone leave here more motivated than entered. So I hope the audience as well. So thanks everyone. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching us, and see you guys. See the next, and happy holidays for everyone. Oh yeah, there's many people talking about. So see you all. Bye bye.
See ya. Bye bye. Take care. Ciao.